many Jews or Christians, anybody, memorize even the book of Leviticus in the original language? They can't, because they don't know what it is. There's too many different versions. Nobody has memorized the Bible. Yet in this room, and I don't know you guys, I know one person here. So you cannot answer this question. Don't do anything. Sit still. How many in this room have memorized at least one chapter out of the Quran in the original Arabic language? Oops. That's called proof, folks. Stick your little paperclip in there and play with it, or look around the room and think. 2 chapters. Whoa. 2 chapters. 3. Oops. 4. Whoa. 5. 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 10. I got 10. Stop. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm Lucas from Texas. Slipped up. This is the book wherein there is no doubt. Here's another one for you. Just think about it in general, what people think about their religion. How many people who don't believe in God at all like to make jokes about religion? Wow, you heard jokes about religion, right or wrong? Yes? Did you hear jokes about religion? Sir? Did you hear some jokes about religion? You never heard anybody tell any jokes about religion? Or jokes about Darwin, or jokes about how people came from monkeys? People tell jokes. That's what people do. And be honest, from the Christians, you've heard jokes about the Bible. You've heard jokes about Jesus. You've heard jokes about God. Any Christians heard that right now? So true. You heard jokes about it. Okay. There you go. How many of you ever heard a joke about Allah? Allah. Anybody want to tell a joke about the Quran? Anybody hear about a man named Salman Rushdie? In the Satanic Verses? I highly recommend you don't tell any jokes about the Quran, or Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or Allah. Just in case you didn't know that, that's called a major Quran. That's a good way to be about. It's much shorter in some countries to make those kind of jokes. Muslims take this very serious. And we don't claim to have any big knowledge, by the way. We claim to be pretty ignorant of our religion, but yet we know a whole lot more about what we got than some people do. And we know the Bible came from God because it says so in the Quran. It tells us very clearly in the Quran that we have to believe that the scriptures that were sent down before are from Allah. Because of the nature of the question, the way I got it, I answered it that way. You stack the question, I'll stack the answer. Somebody said God is a ladder, a process by which we reach a conclusion. If God is infinity wide, He need not think. He who knows all conclusions need not think. He need not hope or fear. When knowledge is perfect, there can be no passion or emotion. If God is infinite, He does not work. He does not want. Sorry. Do we have a question? He has all. He does not want, does not act. Infinite must go out in eternal comment. Oh, comment. Our comment is, that's nice. And I like something from the Quran better. It said, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. That's in chapter 2 of the Quran, verse 255. If you don't have a Quran, you can write to us at islamtoday.com, get one, tell us which language you want it in, and we'll try our best, to provide you with the language you want. Provide not too weird, But we have Turkish, we have English, we have Urdu, we have different Quran. And write to us and get a Quran and read it. See what it says. Write this down. Chapter 2, verse 255. Find out what he said. of evolution, what does you say? What do you say about all the bones that have been founded? Well, you acknowledge that there's another species that roam the earth, and in between of apes and humans. Again, I recommend before you make statements like this, you read these books, because you're going to find out that all that's been presented has come full circle. And the very scholars of evolution themselves are shooting themselves in the foot, as we say in Texas. They're saying now, we don't have the answer. Because something came along called DNA. And with the DNA, they were able to realize very quickly that it is mathematically impossible to even conceive the formula that it would take to go from a monkey to a human being. Not a missing link, a number which cannot be formulated of missing links between the DNA of a human and the DNA of these apes. Let me share something with you. In the Quran it tells you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He turned human beings into apes and to swine. How many of you know about that? Do you believe it? He turned humans into pigs and monkeys. Which one do you think is closer to the humans? The monkeys? You're wrong. Not according to DNA, the pig. In 1977, one of my favorite actors, little John Wayne, had a heart put in his, they put a heart in him. You know what animal they took it out of? They didn't take it out of a monkey. Pig. You got that? Khanzir. Pig. So I just look over at your barnyard fowl before you look out there in the jungle at the monkey hanging in the tree. No, I don't accept that, because you're trying to come up with what? You're trying to prove something you already want to believe. I'm willing. I already did it once. I'm willing to do it again. You bring me something with substantial proof, and I'm ready to go with you. But Steve, don't tell me you have an idea that someday science is going to have something that's going to do something better than what we got. Instead, show me what you got that's now, today. Hello? I recall a couple of years back at one of the universities I visited, that one of the questions they asked me afterwards was funny. So funny that everybody laughed except the guy asking the question. Listen what he said. He said he's been reading medical journals. Okay? And in the medical journals, he's able to understand that the doctors are saying that it's just a matter of time until we find a solution for every single disease on earth. There will be a cure for every disease on earth. And nobody will ever die anymore. And because people aren't going to die anymore, how will that affect your religion, sir? Now I'm up here, right? I get around, but I got to be fair. I got to ask you a question. You need what else you got? Without laughing in your face. But everybody else is laughing at me. What do you mean you're not going to die? What kind of conclusion did you just make? You're asking me about something about my religion. What about your religion? What about this belief that you have that scientists can solve all the things that lead to death? Even though we know as Muslims, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never sent any disease except that He also sent a cure. We know this because the Prophet told us that. So there's no disease except there's a cure. We already agree with that part of your own question. We agree with that. You didn't have to go read a medical journal. I'm going to tell you if there's a disease out there, Allah made it a cure for. Okay? Why? Because the Prophet said that. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? But what about that next part? And because there's a cure for disease, people won't die anymore? I asked him, I said, man, excuse me, did you not ever go around the loop during rush hour time? You don't think people are going to die because they don't have a disease? People don't die from disease. They die from everything in the world. Have you ever heard what happened? I don't know. In Texas, man, every Sunday afternoon you're going to hear about somebody being stabbed to death. Sometimes by his own wife. He said, yeah, but they're going to use body parts there. I said, well, where are they going to get the body parts from? All the people that had to die. Hello? He said, you don't understand. I said, you're right. I'm glad I don't. This part I'm not